Okay, this is from chapter 23. I wake with a start, my heart thudding. Benoit is fast asleep, lying behind me, so we're curled together like a pair of quotation marks. It wasn't a dream, there was a noise. I sit up, listening carefully. There is a sound of running feet, a shout, drifting up from the street. A door slams. More shouts. Gunshots. The way the sound is dulled, it sounds like it's coming from the Twist Street side, and I glance out the window to check. The street is quiet, not even a plastic bag stirring in the trees. The mongoose's face appears at the end of the bed, nose snuffling as he stands up on his back paws to peer out at me. The mongoose is her boyfriend's animal. Looks like it's just you and me. I slip out of bed, pulling on some clothes and a pair of slops. The unholy alliance. Benoit doesn't stir. The lights are on at 6:08. I rap lightly on the door, and Mr. Khan, the tailor, whose wife has a talent for weaving anti-theft charms into his work, opens the door a moment later. Mr. Khan beckons with little grabbing gestures for me to come in quickly, before scurrying back to the window and the unfolding drama. I step over bolts of cloth and squeeze in around the sewing machine on the desk, to the window, where Mrs. Khan, their 12-year-old daughter, the sex worker from across the passage, and a man I can only assume is her patron, have taken up viewing positions, all looking down on the streets. We're not the only tenants enjoying a little 4 a.m. drama. On either side of us, people are leaning out the windows to look, smoking and chatting. It's these gangs, Mrs. Khan tuts, shifting her weight to balance the sleeping baby on her hip, and that damn private security. The police are a joke with a punchline you've heard before. Armed response runs Zoo City, and the downtown area the same way dogs piss on their territory. They're only interested in protecting their buildings. If a crime happens across the road, it's as if it doesn't happen at all. It's out of their jurisdiction. Unfortunately, Elysium and Orem Place fall out of the borders of privatized law. Our landlord is too snook to pony up for protection. There is another crackle of gunfire. A muzzle flash is reflected in the broken windows of the building on the corner. Then a man scrambles out from the cover of the trees lining the avenue, firing back over his shoulder. His trainers make a tennis court squeal as he skids on the wet tarmac. A bear lumbers out behind him and looks both ways as if checking for oncoming traffic. This is not the strangest thing I've seen in our street. There was the attempted rape that was interrupted. Mrs. Khan roused some of the larger men on our floor, and they beat the would-be rapist into a coma. There was the night Denise got stabbed, unfortunately not fatally. There was the murder in the stairwell a few weeks ago, but the weirdest was the night the owner of a local brothel paraded her girls in their menagerie naked down the street, hoping to drum up new business. Dogfight turned bad, says one of the guys leaning out of the window of 610 with great authority. Not too late to place your bets, his goatee friend says, but their laughter is hollow. No, man, Mrs. Khan says, annoyed. Shows what you know. It's a gang war, definitely. The 207s were moving in on the Cameroonians 2 weeks ago. This is revenge. You'll see. On the street below, there is another shot. The bear's shoulder collapses with a jerk. It roars in pain, rises to its full height, and then seems to think better of it. The man tugs at the bear's arm, trying to get it to move. It roars again and drops back on all fours. The man starts to run, gesturing urgently for the bear to follow him. It starts after him, but it's too late. More bullets, AK-47 rounds this time, rip through the animal, knocking it sideways. The man screams and starts running back towards his bear, then hesitates. The bear shambles another step, and then collapses on its backside with a surprised woof. It tries to get up, confused. The AK-47 stutters again. The bear's forepaws slide out from under it. Its jaw strikes the curb with an audible crack. The people at the window wince. Very slowly, the bear's head lolls to one side. The man turns and runs, like hell is at his heels. It will be. We hold our collective breath at Tsotsi, holding that favorite weapon of revolutionaries, criminals, and revolutionaries turned criminals, walks cautiously out from behind the scaffolding of the trees, the AK-47 at his hip. There is a blur of wings hovering at his shoulder. A sunbird. He walks up to the bear and prods it with his foot. It doesn't move. He empties another clip into it anyway. The bird darts forward to see, darts back again. There are sirens in the distance, private security, not police. You can tell by the pitch of the wail. The Tsotsi looks up and sees half the building standing at their windows watching. He gives us a cheerful wave and steps back into the trees, his bird darting about his head. We know what's coming. None of us say anything. The mongoose paces the window ledge, whiskers quivering. The silence gets louder. The bear lies motionless on the pavement beside the metal frame of a licensed vendor's stall. The air pressure dips like before a storm. A keening sound wells up soft and low, as if it's always been there, just outside the range of human hearing. It swells to howling, and then the shadows start to drop from trees like raindrops after a storm. The darkness pools and gathers and then seethes. The Japanese believe it's hungry ghosts. The Scientologists claim it's the physical manifestation of suppressive engrams. Some eyewitness reports describe teeth grinding and ripping in the shadows. Video recordings have shown only impenetrable darkness. I prefer to think of it as a black hole, cold and impersonal in space. Maybe we become stars on the other side. Thanks.